welcome to our conversations, a cousins reunion that started with us getting together. But due to the pandemic and social distancing, we started meeting via Zoom to keep the tradition alive. And now we want to share our conversations with you. I'm Eliana.
I'm Vanda.
And I'm Crystal. So today's topic is marijuana. And I found evidence from the National Center for Drug Abuse Statistics, which says that 78 million people, which is approximately half of America or half of Americans, have said that they've tried marijuana at least once. So what happens when we give our opinions and perspectives on this topic? As always, we respect everyone's opinions and perspectives, and we hope that our conversation will inspire you to have conversations like these with your own family and group of friends. So ladies, my first question for you is, what are the risks and benefits of marijuana use? So for me, the risks are essentially feeling really disconnected, perhaps having a slow reaction time. I think about kind of being in a consistent fogginess, being kind of like fog-headed, if you will, and just not being completely present, especially as adults or adults with lots of responsibilities, whether it's job, family, or whatever it may be. I think a risk of marijuana use can be that if you have other responsibilities to attend to, if you are not your most clear-headed self, that could be risky, could affect your ability to be aware of your skills in terms of perhaps driving or just working with heavy machinery. There could be a delayed reaction time, and that could be a situation where it might be dangerous for you or the people around you. Some benefits, some people have reported that they feel calmer, that it lessens their anxiety, and other people have had lots of conversations about marijuana being used medicinally. So I see those as being potential benefits. What about you, Eliana?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to agree with you, especially because once someone starts to have more responsibility and you have to look after children, and it could be even someone who has to look after their elderly spouse, right? Or a sibling or a friend that might need extra support. I definitely see the risks as after long-term use, feeling like you have to be dependent on it in order to function. And so just needing more, or because originally, let's say by using it recreationally, it calmed you down, it helped you enjoy life a little bit more. And so now all of a sudden you need it just to be able to function. And if you have a serious responsibility, that's where I think it could get in the way. So I see the risk as being dependent on it to function. And then the other one I think is a huge risk is all of the surveys and data and statistical information that we have. It says that they recommend, even those that are pro marijuana use, both medicinally and recreationally, they'll say that statistics are showing that children shouldn't use it until their brain is fully developed. Like with any other drug, that's always a concern. And so the legal age is 21 in America, and so that's one of the risks, because once people under 21 start using it, that's a risk because their brain isn't fully developed. But that's like with any other drug, even like medically prescribed medications. So I think that's controversial. But the benefits for me, what I learned is that not only is it good for like pain relief, like for cancer patients or people with chronic pain, but it helps with PTSD, right? So people who are constantly feeling depressed or triggered because of whatever trauma they've experienced, the studies have shown that it helps those who suffer from PTSD. What do you think, Vanda?
So I have used marijuana in the past. I was younger, and it is, I don't necessarily agree that it's totally a drug, that would make you go on to other drugs necessarily. I think that it's something that you should wait till you're older to experience, because you're right. When you're younger, your brain's not very developed. You're not, um, you're more susceptible to a lot of things, right? So I think that the risks are mostly for younger people for that reason. I think that other risks are like what you guys have said, you're in a foggy state. So if you're driving or anything like that, you're obviously impaired, just like if you would be with drinking and driving. I think that, you should be definitely not doing those things. Um, the other risks, are just you not being very responsible. You're sitting around doing nothing basically because you're so zoned out, as some people would say. Um, I do think it does have a lot of health benefits. Um, as far as pain goes, it helps a lot of people, especially, like Eliana said, with cancer patients. It helps with some epilepsy. The thing with that is they don't really have much research because it's illegal. So how do you really research something that's illegal when people can't really be researched doing drugs, or you know what I mean? So it's hard to say really what the risks and benefits are if you really don't have a lot of the data to back it up. We have people that they're probably going by people who have been smoking regularly, and so I think that it's a disservice to a lot of people because you know obviously people who have cancer and have said it helps them with the nausea and the pain is something that should be looked at. It should be, if it can help people with PTSD and epilepsy and things like that, anxiety. um, I think anxiety though would be a thing for both a risk and a benefit, because some people get extra anxious when they smoke or they get paranoid, things like that. So that
Yeah.
could be the way. But yeah, I don't see that as, as too much of a risk. I think it has more benefits. Um, but I don't think that it's a gateway drug, um, because I think if you have an addictive personality, regardless of what kind of, if you smoke, you're going to try alcohol. If you know, try alcohol, you're going to try marijuana. If you try marijuana, you're going to try other drugs. I feel like if try, if you're in a social setting where most of your friends are doing drugs, are drinking, are smoking, um, and I can attest to that because I was around a lot of that. I've had many different kinds of friends. So it is true, if you are around people that are doing certain things, and especially as a teenager, you're definitely going to try those things because you want to be cool. You want to not be the, odd man out. So um, I never done any other hard drugs. So for me personally, I can't say that it was a gateway drug at all. Um, I didn't. I don't think that people understand though that you can't just smoke all day long and think you're being a productive person. That's not that's not true. And that's from experience as well. So um, it's not a thing. You need to, if you're gonna do it, then I would say do it responsibly. Know the doses and what you should and shouldn't be smoking. Be aware, because there are people out there that do bad things to your product. They can lace it with other drugs and things like that. So you have to be aware. And now we have states that have legalized it. So if you live in Massachusetts, you don't need to get it off the streets, which is dangerous. So um, I would say, that it all depends, I think, on people's personalities, where it would be a gateway drug or not. That's, my personal opinion. What do you think, Crystal?
Yeah, you're definitely my cousin. I said that, this is a hard one to answer, but I know some people argue it's addicting, and right, that's the argument. It's addicting and it's going to lead you to try other things. I would question the addictive personality part. So kind of similar to what you said. Some people have smoked weed before, but they've never done anything else, and they never do anything else in their entire life. So my question to that is, what I'm more concerned about is the habit of smoking weed all the time. What is it that you're experiencing in your life that is making you feel like you need to be constantly smoking, or that you can't function without it? What is it that, if it numbs you out or zones you out, what are the feelings that you're trying to block? What is it about your reality? What is it about your life that you are trying to block out by kind of being in a zoned out space? That's the bigger conversation. Like, what is happening to make you not want to really be present? I would say that's the bigger conversation, which for me, then, if I could just add something new, I would say, once you get to the heart of what that is, my suggestion would be to seek some form of therapy to really deal with whatever those real feelings are, instead of feeling like you have to constantly self-medicate, because that's where it really gets to. I had a conversation with a friend just last weekend, and they were talking about how they were users all the time, and they had to get to a certain point where, they had a wake-up call, and it was, my real thoughts or the dreams that I have or the things that I think about on the daily basis it's so overwhelming to me, the feelings that I have, that I had to kind of check myself and be like, well, you're smoking all the time because you just don't want to feel those real feelings.
Yeah.
And then I asked them, and I said, so what would you do, or how would you feel, or what would you do if you just said, I'm not going to smoke at all today, like not once?
Right.
And they're like, I could do it, but by the end of the day, I would be very agitated. And so again, came the conversation of, there's some part of you that feels like you're dependent upon it. And that's what you got to get to the heart of, is like, what is really happening here that makes you feel like you can't be present? And that's really where I think the conversation needs to be.
Yeah.
What about you, Eliana?
Yes, of course. I think the part about our conversations that everyone needs to see as a positive aspect of our episodes is that we were just talking about this, that we can look at the same situation and respect everyone's opinions, and we don't have to an all-out argument even if we think differently. So when I said PTSD, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. And under that could be depression, could be somebody feeling anxious. But it's also about just that mental health piece that you need to deal with, right? So even if you were to go to a doctor and you were able to get the help you needed, and we've talked about it in this show before about getting help, going to counseling, talking about whatever happened to you and how it's making you feel or whatever you're dealing with. due to current circumstances. And then if it was recommended, that smoking marijuana is going to help you deal with all of those symptoms, but continue with the therapy, then I think that it's a different conversation, right? But the question about it being a gateway drug started with the Say No to Drugs campaign. And I agree with Vanda, they haven't done a lot of studies yet to even see how it could be used more medicinally, right? So that people aren't trying to get it on the streets. One of the studies that I found, and I was just listening to somebody on TED Talk, and he was saying that the statistics showed that you can't overdose on marijuana, right? Oh. So I agree. It's about, okay, if you're all alone smoking all the time, and I have personal experience with someone, right? So if they're at home smoking all the time, of course, that's going to be the only thing they do. They're not motivated to go anywhere. Life itself doesn't have any meaning, right? But I've also seen, I'm sure that you've seen movies, right, where the parents are responsible or something's going on and they're gathering at night and they're smoking, for recreational use, in the sense that it's not going to lead to more, because they have something to live for. They have to go to work in the morning.
Right.
So that's how I see it. I don't see it necessarily as a gateway drug, but I agree with everyone that it has to do with your circumstances, mental health, your emotional health, your family dynamics, whether you have friends, that are positive and encouraging, that aren't going to want you to just sit around all day smoking, right?
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
What's happened though, and I wasn't sure, maybe you guys can answer for me, because Massachusetts has legalized marijuana. I don't know about Rhode Island, but what's happened in some of the states is that they're now, voting to legalize it. And so what's the real reason behind that? Where before they made it illegal, and then there were all these, people who are within that cartel industry, or just people out on the street selling marijuana. And now all of a sudden, the government has now given the states the ability to vote to legalize it. And at first it was an easy answer. Oh, because they're taking the money off the street, because they see how much money these people are making illegally. Well, they saw that there was a financial gain in there.
Yep.
But for me, I also thought about the fact that this is just my opinion, by legalizing it, they also opened up the opportunity for small businesses, right? So either way, it's benefiting in a sense, because now people who are pro marijuana and really want to show that marijuana is a plant and can be used medicinally and it benefits our society, they can now open up their own business and benefit from that. Also, it's purer, from my understanding. Whoever knows about this can talk more about it, but it's more controlled, right? So now it's not something that can be laced. And I found there was a website called benzinga.com, and this woman named Nina Zindajak, can't say it, but on September 8th of 2021, she wrote, this marijuana stock has outperformed Apple, Netflix, Facebook, and Amazon. And it's a Canadian cannabis company called Cronos Group, Cron, C-R-O-N. And basically the stocks have skyrocketed, and this Canadian company was able to put in a $11.4 million investment in a U.S. multi-state operator called PharmaCann. So that answers that, right? Like the stock. So people who are investing in stocks and who are in that financial district, exchange, places in America, like New York City, right? Like they're making money off of the the legalization of marijuana. So what do you think, Crystal?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first thing I was gonna say was this: money, 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 right? So I found on AmericanMarijuana.org, it's predicted that legal marijuana sales will earn as much as $23 billion by 2025, which obviously is not too, far away from now. And that was my first thought before I did the research, was just money. Once people knew that they could make a lot of money off of it, and once the perception of marijuana people have become more open-minded to the idea of marijuana, even though some people who think about this topic, watch this video, they might still be kind of super negative about the topic. Overall, like, the opinion of like our communities are starting to become more open-minded about marijuana versus, crack and cocaine. There's less judgment of using marijuana than you might get if you say that you use crack cocaine or any of those other hard drugs. And so I think because the perception has changed, people are like, well, how can we make money on this? Because it's starting to become less taboo. So let's make money. There's money out there. And why not make it legalized if so many people are doing it anyway? As I said at the beginning of the video, more than 78 million Americans, and that's just Americans, have said that they've tried it at least once. So if the government knows that, more than half of our country has used it at least once, if not using it on a regular, semi-regular, whatever basis, why not make money off of it, right? I mean, we're a capitalistic society, so it's all about the moolah. What about you, Vanda?
Oh, that was my first thing. Was I was like, before I did any research, like you said, I said, well, it's money. You got all these, drug dealers out here making tons of money off of it. So the government's like, we might as well, right? I think also the fact that more people are more okay with it, and the media and our generation and the younger generation have come to say more like, it's not a drug like cocaine, or especially these medications that are prescribed and people are getting hooked on, is a lot worse than marijuana, and so I would have to say that has some to do with it. Also that a lot of majority of Black men and Latinos were put in prison for a very long time because of it, and that also has come to light. So they're trying to tone that down more by, I think, legalizing it so that, people aren't going to jail for a longer period of time like they used to. Money, obviously, I would think is the big thing. I also was looking into it, and I was thinking about buying stocks because, like you guys were just saying, it's crazy. And one of the articles I was reading was saying, like, it's the next Amazon. Like, if you could go back and buy, stock in Amazon, you would, So I'm like, I don't know if I want to miss out on this one, It's crazy, the amount of money that it's going to generate. And I just think it's a matter of time before they do, make it a federal, legalize it federally, and then anyone can. And I think it's a good thing because, like, we were saying, it's better for people to have it this way than out on the streets with people, lacing it with cocaine or, God knows what else. And I think it would be safer this way, So, I agree with all of you. I think that, we should definitely keep an open mind, talk about it more with your family members and your friends. And, you should try not to smoke all day long, every day. And if you should probably, like we talked about, get some counseling, because you probably, do have some things going on that you need to address. And with that, as our conversation comes to an end, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our future videos, please.
Click, click, click.
Click.
And Crystal, take us away.
Yes. So thank you, cousins, for joining. And thank you for listening to us give our opinion on the topic of marijuana. And so until next time,
I'm Eliana.
I'm Vanda.
I'm Crystal. And this is our conversations. Bye.
Bye.